Hi folks, so in this video I am going to be demonstrating winding yarn. So this would be a skein of yarn on a yarn swift. Of course it's two colors and this is not the best yarn you'll ever find. We're going to be winding from this yarn swift through our Yarn Meter Pro and onto our yarn ball winder. Now I have the yarn meter set up on 3 reams of paper. It's a good idea when you're winding onto a ball winder through a yarn meter to have them at the same height if possible. And the reason for that is you don't want to add unnecessary tension to your yarn. So if your yarn meter is on the ground, the yarn would then have to kind of go down over the wheel and then down again and then up over this and onto the bottom. So anyway, it does create a lot of friction points that add unnecessary tension to your yarn. So you don't want to do that if possible. Now, as you can see, none of these, I don't know if you can see with the Swift, none of these items are attached to my table. And that's one of the things that I really like about this setup. We do include table clamps with the yarn ball winder and the Yarn Meter Pro, but this thing weighs over 2 pounds. This weighs almost 5. They all have bearings in them, so they move very freely. It's just not usually necessary to affix them to a surface. So I'm going to take the yarn from the Swift through the yarn meter onto the ball winder, and I will show you how these 3 items work so spectacularly together. Okay, so to put yarn onto your yarn meter, you want to go in the yarn guide, over the top of this pulley and through the exit yarn guide. Now the beautiful thing about this design is that we have loops. So the yarn won't come out of the loop while it's in use, but also you can put the yarn on or take it off at any point during the winding process. So you're not stuck having to go all the way to the end to remove the yarn. So what you do is you take your yarn, you go over the wheel like this, under these little black caps, and now you're on. So it's super simple. Let me show you that again. It's like this, it's over, it's under, and now you're on. So then you wind the yarn, of course having the yarn guide at the innermost position facing the ball winder. All right, and here we go. So you generally want to add a little bit of tension with your non-winding hand, but the yarn meter will do that for you mostly. There's no maximum speed that you can wind through the Yarn Meter Pro. We have wound them during testing at really high speeds for incredible lengths of time, and there is no significant wear on the components. So this thing held up really well during testing. The other thing you'll notice is that the disc is sort of a smallish size, and that is because the disc that is being wound around is 1/5 of a yard, okay? So it's a 1:5 ratio on that. And what's nice about the ratio being so high is that you're not having to turn a really large, heavy disc, okay? And that's one of the main tenets of this design, was to be able to turn that wheel very easily. Okay, so now we're at the end. I had this thing tied on. There you go. So this is actually counting, so we have 122 yards in this ball of yarn. So this actually counts yards, not feet. If you're watching this and you don't see a metric version in our store and you're interested in one, shoot me an email and I'll give you an ETA on that. It shouldn't be too far out. But anyway, so this is a nice little setup. You have, you get a skein of yarn, you don't know how long it is, you know how long you need, or you just want to measure some, you can really use this for a lot of different purposes around your shop. Anything that needs to be wound or that needs to be measured, you can throw it through this. If you're warping onto the back of your loom, if you're warping directly onto your loom, you can set this up and measure your warps that way. The beautiful thing about this design over, I've even used the fishing type, the Shakespeare winders, is that the components are set away from the the place where the yarn is being wound. If you were ever to get any yarn in the back of this and kind of prevent these gears from working, you could just take these 3 screws off, remove this back plate, clean it out, put it back on. So it's a simple device. It works really well. They've tested really well, and it's really nice. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks.